Real World News TV, you are live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of Real World News TV. I'm one of your co-hosts, Reggie Kearney. We have Sharon Tapper, and welcome back, Sharon.
Thanks, Reggie.
Out for a minute. Derek Terry, hopefully will be on later on. He's running late. And we have the boss lady, Tony Breedlove, all the way from the Strip in Las Vegas.
I keep saying it makes it sound like I am a stripper. Well, hell, with this red hair, I could do the job
now. We'll just call you Roxy Red.
Hi.
Yeah. You all can catch Tony at the Flamingo Lounge any night.
Yeah. Hugging a pole.
Yeah.
Like Trump. Like Trump.
Yeah. So this week we're gonna do a part 2 of the show that we did last week, where we had an honest discussion concerning the Black church's ability to collect money on Sundays. And it was noted that over the last 30 years, Black churches have raised more than $420 billion, which roughly equals out to $14 billion a year over 30 years. And so, we were just having a frank discussion about the money. Where's the money going? What are the churches doing in the community? And we all agreed that the church cannot do everything that we want the church to do in the community. It has to be a partnership with others in the community too. But still, the church should be a leader in the community, as it once was a leader in the community. Once the Black church was a place to go to for the civil rights meetings and any other meeting that dealt with the growth of the African American community. But that's changed now, so where is the money going? We don't see we see a lot of new churches going, especially in the area where mega churches are being built, but where's the rest of the money going? What's happening in your community? What are your churches doing in the community to help develop the Black community, to make us strong again? Sharon, your thoughts? Part 2 this week.
Well, I'll beg your pardon in advance if I repeat any of the points you made last week, but thinking about tonight's show and thinking about the history of the church, not just in America, not just Black churches, but globally, there's always been a percentage of the churches that stole from their communities. That you look at the churches in Ireland, while the Irish were starving, the nuns and the priests were eating steak, living high on the hog. You look at churches in England that contributed to tithing their communities to the point of starvation until Henry VIII decided to reclaim all of that and put all the money in his coffers. And then you look at the churches in America, over the last 200 and some odd years. It seems to me like churches have become the new .com, the new Wall Street, the new get-rich-quick scheme. And I find it exceedingly disappointing. They came from very humble beginnings, wearing sackcloth or simple cotton and being humble and, using whatever monies they gained to, pay for their church, the land that their church was on, but to give back to the communities, to have soup kitchens, feed the communities, clothe the communities. And you don't see that anymore. In this modern age, you would think that they would help invest or start schools, trade schools, after-school programs, summer school programs, invest in local entrepreneurs, something to give back to the community. But I tell you honestly, with the exception of, significantly large and historic churches that have been around for 300 or 400 years, I'm always very saddened when I walk into a church and I find it gilded with all the latest and the greatest. And then you look at the community that it sits in and you see the abandoned homes. You see the, impoverished people, on the corner drinking a 40, or you hear about the family that can't afford its rent. And, like you said, $420 billion is a shit ton of money. I'm sorry, I'm channeling my inner Tony. And it's really despicable, to read articles about priests and pastors who think that God wants them to have a jet. There's a website that is dedicated to informing people about lay people in the church or priests who are busted for embezzlement. So it seems like the more money a church can raise, the greater likelihood there's going to be somebody with dipping their hands in the coffers, and not for a good cause. So, you know, I find it a very sad and unfortunate thing that so many people feel compelled to tithe their salaries and give so much of their money to these churches, but there really isn't any dividends for them. And that, you know, you don't need to give to the church or pay for indulgences to be noticed by your God, you know, for your prayers to be heard. And I understand. Go ahead, Tony.
But you have people who say that because it is written that you give 10% of your earnings to tithing, that is what they do, whether they are broke, or just broke. People will give that 10% no matter what, and then they're the ones who are living on the edge of nothing. And the pastor, like you said, is jet setting it in his own private jet. Well, it costs money to maintain a jet. It costs money to put a jet in the air. The jet fuel alone, will surpass the cost of the plane itself.
Yeah, they're bling, their $1,000 suits. It's just where's the humility? I don't see it anymore.
But that's the whole thing. What is it that has turned the church into this money-making machine? Whereas it's not that you can see that it's going into the community. It's not where you can see Ms. Johnson is having a problem with paying her light bill, or Ms. Johnson can't make her rent or even buy her medication for the month. She's on Social Security, but she's giving her 10% of her Social Security, but you can't help Ms. Johnson with her medication.
And they take that money without a care in the world.
But look, wait a minute, hold up here now. We cannot paint the church with a broad stroke, okay? Paintbrush, okay?
Well, no, I'm not saying that we're painting it with a broad
churches out there, mega churches that are doing some good works in the community. It's not every church in the community, and there are only I think all churches are guilty to a certain extent of not reaching back into the community. Well, a lot of churches have STEM programs, they have mentoring programs, they're doing a lot in the community. They have food pantries, they have soup kitchens, in this area.
And God bless those churches.
I know a lot of churches are doing a mixture of it all, okay? But we still, we're missing the mark here. What we're trying to address is why aren't there coalitions among the people in the community along with the churches to better the community? Pastors are going to get $200,000 if they're in a mega church, okay? It's a job. Ministry work is a job, man.
Okay, so let me ask you this question though, Reggie. So say for instance, well, like you said, there has to be this cohesiveness between the community and the churches. And am I correct in what you're saying there, right?
Yeah,
okay. So what would make a church be okay with someone from the community to just come to their church and say, you guys should be doing this, doing that. I suggest this, suggest that. What makes it okay for them to do that, and then those things be taken into consideration to follow through with, especially if you're not a member of the church?
Well, I think in the communities you have to develop a relationship. If you are a person in the community, a community activist, you have to make contact with the pastor of that church and develop a relationship with that church. And I think that's where it's lacking. There are relationships being built in the community to help the communities grow. Something else that's hurt the church too in the community is that a lot of people now have moved out of the city and live in the suburbs. So when they come into the city on Sundays to attend church, they go back to the suburbs. They don't have that connection to the community to affect change in the community. So you got to figure out that the church has to figure out a way how they can reconnect with the community, even if the members live out in the suburbs. Okay.
So that's where the outreach auxiliaries come in.
You
Yeah,
know, if a
But
church is making $5 million a year, they can afford to have a small staff
they're making
dedicated to
14
programs.
million a
you got
No,
to
year.
realize,
but not each church is making that money.
right?
Okay,
Some
so if we
churches are only
average
making
it.
80,000, some churches are
Okay.
making
Yeah,
100,000, right? And look, just like all cops aren't bad, and we have shows where we talk about the police, and but it's a known that we're talking about the bad actors, the bad apples. We're not talking about them in their totality. We're
No,
talking
because I
about the
do
bad
know some
ones.
small churches that are doing well,
And
doing
like the
well,
church
but they're
that
doing it
Reggie's
doing
with.
in their community.
Yeah, and there are churches that are doing the right thing, but their voices are small in comparison to these mega churches that have, 5,000 members, and they have ATM machines in their churches, for God's sake.
well,
I mean,
even the small churches have debit card readers. Okay, most of the pastors I know who are using debit card readers in the church only limits it to debit cards because they don't allow credit cards to be used because no one needs to be giving money to the church and paying interest on. Okay, so
Hmm.
the machines are designed to
so
use debit
far.
money. You can most churches now you can go online to pay your tithes and stuff, or you can give regularly like you do at church into the offering plate, or you can use a debit card.
Let me ask you this, though. If it is written in the Bible that you're supposed to tithe,
Hmm.
is it written in the Bible what the church is supposed to do with that money?
Well,
I don't think.
Is there
Uh,
something, if there's nothing written, then they could do whatever the hell they want.
but see, I don't think it's a written. I
it's a
don't think.
word of encouragement. Encourage you to help your fellow brother. Okay.
Right,
So
but
if
see,
I tithe to you for
that's
5 years,
religion in a
and
whole.
right, but
Is encouragement
if
to
I
help your
tithe
brother.
to you for 5 years and then lose my job and come to you and say, Pastor, I've lost my job. I can't feed my family. I can't pay my mortgage. I'm going to lose my house. Can I rely on that church that I've been tithing my 10% to for the last 20 years to support me and my family until I get back on my feet? I'm not thinking so.
Yes, you should be able to. 'Cause look, let me tell you
Should,
something.
but I haven't heard
Oh,
No, you will.
one
It
time I've
depends
not
on
heard
it
that
depends
happen.
on your church. I know at my church, we had a lady, and God bless her soul, she's going to heaven. Her and her family, they stayed on hard times. Okay, I'll just be frank. But we helped them every time they needed help, whether it was electric bill or catch up on the rent. We do help people in our church. We've had people come join us for 1 or 2 Sundays, need a mortgage paid, we pay, but don't never see them again. Okay, and we're a small church. Okay, so we really can't afford to do everything we want to do.
I
Even
get
during the furlough that took place back in January, December, January timeframe, we gave each federal employees that one Sunday we gave them each a $500 check. A lot of churches are doing stuff. We have
That's good to know.
we do review your request. We just don't go blindly and do it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
as you
We
should.
Yeah, we check you out because you do have people in the communities that go from church to church with the same story. Okay. So there is a system out there that we use here in the county where whenever we make a connection with a person, that we call this nonprofit social agency, and we put that person's name into the data bank. So if they go to another church, they will be known. But we do a good job at my church taking care of our members. Okay,
But,
That's good.
regardless
but
of what they tithe. Okay, it's not based on their tithe. Regardless, because some people might not give it $10 a week, and we might pay their mortgage. Okay.
but you know what? I'm finding that is almost disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Almost disturbing is that when we talk about the churches who are doing things in the community, are you noticing that we're talking about those churches that are small churches?
The ones who can barely afford it,
Exactly.
as
The
opposed to the
ones
ones
that
bringing
are
in
really trying to
millions of
use the
dollars.
building fund for the building fund.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Replacing a doorknob here and there, doing what they can, construction in
Yeah.
their parking lots. They are doing those things. I'm talking about those mega churches who really don't give a shit. They are just bringing in the money. And I'm going to say this, and I
With
know
the
my mother's
reality TV
probably going to
shows.
kill me when I say this, right? Because she watches the show.
I'm
But you know what turned me off is when my grandmother had taken ill. And my mom was telling me that the church she had been a member of since my grandmother and my grandfather had wed. they wed in the church, which was 60 some years ago. Grandmother's been gone for maybe, I think, 10 years. Okay. So we're talking about over the course of a marriage for 50 years, they had been a member of that church. And when grandmother had taken ill, she had tithed, she was active in the church, all kind of things. But when she took ill, there was maybe one or two persons from that church who actually came to see about grandmother, to even help bring food over or anything like that. So that's where I have my problem. Mm-hmm. The church that grandmother had belonged to had started as a small church and eventually grown into a very large church. This is where I have my problem. It's not the small churches. Mm-hmm. And I'm all about growth. I'm all about, increasing the number of members you have in your church. I'm all about that because I believe in fellowship. I believe in, the lay and the law of the land of what is written in the Bible. I get it. I get all of that. I just have a problem with these mega churches that collect all this money and don't know how to give back, whether it's monetary and helping someone with their bills or following through with going to see about sick folks. That's what I have my problem with. That's why you've got so many people right now today who have either grown up in the church, had somewhere in the line of their adulthood, started going to church, becoming a part of the ministries and all of these different things, who have now stepped back. They've taken a step back and they don't want to be a part of it anymore because they see that whatever it is that's going on in those churches is not for them. It's not what is supposed to be a part of their belief system. So that's what I'm trying to say.
It's like separating the wheat from the chaff.
It's supposed to do in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. It's those mega churches that I've got a problem with.
That and Sunday saints, who make themselves out to be so righteous. And then during the rest of the week, they could care less about their fellow man.
Yeah. Jacqueline is asking me if I'm taking calls tonight. Jacqueline, I tell you what, I will take a call. Do you guys want to take a call?
Sure.
Okay, so that means I have to pull my camera down. I've got to set up the phone. Okay, so you guys keep talking amongst yourselves, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, like I said, we can't even with the mega churches, we can't use a paintbrush to do a broad painting of that church, okay? Because there are individuals in those churches that do their work in the community. I think what has happened that with the mega churches, the focus has gotten in so large, it's focused on inside the building, okay? And not the community. Because a lot of those churches, the mega churches, have ministries within those churches that provide for the people inside the church. Like the mentoring programs, the STEM programs, things of that nature, the marriage ministries, the single ministries, and, the list can go on and on. I know one church in this area, they got about 60 to 70 ministries that take, address issues among the church members and stuff. I think what the pastors have got to learn how to do is how to get back into the community. Mm-hmm. You don't see a lot of activism coming from the churches anymore. And you saw that back in the 70s and the 80s and the 60s. Mm-hmm. Where activism, the pastor, it was almost a sin for the pastor not to go out and get involved in a racist act that's taking place in the community or something of that nature. I find now that the pastors don't want to get involved in things that, their parishioners might have to deal with. I think a lot of times you can't even get the NAACP to deal with stuff anymore that needs to be dealt with. It's like, and like I said this before, it's like segregation has allowed us to get comfortable in our communities, and it's not even for real, okay? It's not true. We can't be comfortable right now. There's too much going on in this country for us as African Americans to be comfortable with what's going on.
Mm-hmm. I find, and maybe it's because, most of the church activity that I see is something that I may see on TV. Mm-hmm. Since my faith takes me in a different direction, but I did grow up attending a church in the Lower East Side, which is now have been torn down and is a $3.1 million set of condos surrounded by wine bars and tapas bars.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little surreal. But when you look at the TV ministries, it sort of reminds me of Fox News and those types of TV shows that are supposed to be news, but they're technically entertainment. And that's what some of these mega churches seem like to me. They've taken it, it's, a way, it's an entertaining, an hour of entertainment, an hour of enabling people to feel self-righteous, and then they leave and they go home and they do the same stupid, assholey, and antithetical to Christian doctrine things that they do for the rest of the week. And you can see it in what's happening politically in this country.
Mm-hmm.
The evangelical right is supposed to be taking over, but there's nothing Christian about what they're doing whatsoever.
Right.
So
I think they done forgot the meaning of what Christianity is. I mean, in all honesty, if I wanted to be rich, I mean, filthy rich, I probably could go out here and start me a TV ministry and tell everybody to sow a seed of $50 a month and God gonna bless them. I think that's the most ridiculous thing that a TV minister can do. Okay, and I find it appalling, and I find it sickening that they're playing to the psyche of a lot of people who are struggling out here, and telling them, saying, "Well, you send $50, and the Lord told me this morning when I woke up, because this show comes on at 6:00, that you need to send me $6 as a seed." Then what does this church do with this money when they get in, or this individual? What do they do with this money? It's almost hard to trust the good ministers out there, the good pastors and preachers out there, because you got these guys on TV asking for money all the time.
Yeah, it's not like they're saying we need this to build a school. They're just saying, give
Right.
it to me.
Yeah,
And there's something about this though that just reminds me of, the golden calf. All right, so they've got this whole prosperity, not mission, but if you give me money, the Lord's going to make you wealthy, and so it turns the attention from the spirituality of the doctrine of Catholicism to, if I do this, I'm going to be rich. So it's almost like they're changing it from worshiping the Lord to worshiping cash. They're going to be rewarded with cash. They're not going to be rewarded with spiritual evolution, peace in their home, and spiritual prosperity. They're going to be rewarded with cash. And that to me seems like if this were a movie and we were to watch the devil turn into a priest and walk into a church and convince everybody the devil is good. We've seen that done in a lot of movies. That's what this smacks of to me.
But you've seen this done in a lot of churches, because there have been individuals who've gotten filthy rich off their congregations, and it wasn't because they were taking the money and doing stuff for the community or the church members. They were doing stuff for themselves. Okay. I mean, I think it's sickening when a pastor can stand up in front of the church on a Sunday and ask people to give him enough money where he can replace his jet. Okay, because the jet he has now is old and raggedy. You know how many times these airlines fly their airplanes? How many years some of these airplanes have been up in the air? Okay, and they're still up in the air. 10, 12 years, they're still flying the same plane over routes, and we getting on those planes every day.
Well, if Jesus were here today, he would be riding a donkey. That's what that priest said. It's ridiculous.
He's probably riding a scooter now, because there are all these scooters in the streets now. But I think the focus, you got to realize, Jesus did not have a home. He did not have the address. Him and the disciples, they just ate and laid their heads.
He was a homeless immigrant.
Yeah, but people invited them. Okay.
Yeah. You got her, Tony?
We have a call coming in from Deron in Virginia.
Oh, Lord, please, Deron. Don't. Deron, please, get off.
Deron, please turn down your volume. Okay. All right. Deron, you still there?
I'm here.
All right. Go ahead, Deron. We've got Deron.
How y'all doing today?
Hey, Deron, what's up, man?
The NAACP, the church, all of them lost their natural mind. Jesus flipped over pews in the church. And I know for a fact he's got to be ashamed. I mean, everyone wants to have a church, whether it be in an industrial park or whether it be in a storefront. You know, the NAACP is not fighting for what it was meant to be. And Reggie and I had a conversation today. We have an NAACP chapter local who I was a member of. I removed my membership. There was a lady who taught for people of color. They didn't have an outlet to even get into school.
Mm-hmm.
They had a banquet here Friday, and they gave away scholarships. Do you know the school system here in Charles County is 73% of color? Not one student received a scholarship. How does that happen in America today?
Wow. Anybody want to comment on that? And after Duran's call, we've got Jacqueline coming in on live video.
Well, and I agree with Duran. And look, this is not being racist, okay? We need to take care of our own, okay? Now, the scholarship, that one, the lady he's talking about, Salome Howard, she was one of the civil rights leaders here in Charles County that made a lot of stuff, integrated a lot of stuff here in this county back in the late 50s and 60s, okay? That scholarship should have gone to a person of color. When you bring up a comment like that, the first thing they say, oh, these scholarships should be for all the kids. No, they should be. I mean, it's nothing wrong with supporting our own kids, okay? If you ask some white kids who Salome Howard was, they don't even know. All they know to get a scholarship. You know, so wow. We're losing so much of our blackness in the community. We're just losing it, okay? Right. If it's through the church or through the community organizations, we are losing it. You know, and it's difficult to understand and accept our mentality now in the black community. You know, it's borderline sickness, okay? You know, because we're not doing what we need to do anymore. We've lost it. We have lost it.
All right, Duran, is there anything else you'd like to comment on?
That's it. I'm gonna stay here on Sunday, and I have church by myself with the Lord.
All right.
And because we know, I'm just gonna say it. Sunday's gonna be, excuse my French, gonna be a SHIT show.
Let me say it for you. It's gonna be a shit show. I'm the one that cusses on this show.
Look, let me tell you about Duran. I can see Duran at home on Sunday with a stogie and a glass of brandy and his Bible, reading the Bible. That's Duran, okay? That's how he keeps it real, okay?
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, thanks a lot for joining in, Duran. We appreciate it, and I hope that you'll visit us and tune in again soon. Continue watching, okay?
Thank you, ladies, and y'all doing a great community service with Reggie.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. That's why we keep him around, because he even lets me come on every now and then, so that's why I keep him around.
I'm going to buy next week.
Yeah, so that means you got to be on camera next week, Duran. All right now.
Let me tell you something about Duran. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why I respect him. Okay, with Duran, why I respect him. Duran is the black militant of the 21st century. Okay, he does not give a hoot or care or give a you know what or how he keeps this community round up. People call him a racist. They call him anything. He speaks his mind. Okay, he says things that people don't want to say. He's the miniature Farrakhan in the community. Okay? He is. I mean, look, Duran, if he sees something wrong, he will address it. And he doesn't shy away from, hurting people's feelings. If they feel like their feelings are hurt, especially African Americans, and he feel like I'm doing what they need to do in the community, he calls them out.
All right now. All right.
His thing is he pays his bills, he pays his house note, so he ain't got to worry about nothing.
That's right. I know that.
That's the kind of consciousness he has when it comes to doing the right thing in the black community.
That's right. So we've got Jacqueline up next. She's actually coming in to us live on camera. So I'm going to bring Miss Jacqueline in. Welcome to the show, Miss Jacqueline. How you doing?
Hey there.
Doing great. How's everybody doing?
Everybody's good. Everybody's good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So what can you add to this conversation?
Well, bottom line, I grew up in a small church, and for 17 years now, I'm part of what's considered a mega church, and I can talk about on both sides where you can't leave it to the pastor to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
See, the good old additive, 20% of the people doing 80% of the work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's for, well, whether it's a church or a business or whatever have you, everybody's got to come together and do their part.
Right. I agree with that.
You know, I mean, he's placed giftings, talents, and abilities in all of us. And if there's a lot of infighting amongst the people,
Right.
that's one big part of what can get in the way and nothing gets done. We don't
So
really expand like we could.
Let me ask you this question though. Do you think that that could be the crux of the issues when we talk about the things that have to be done in the community, because it could be infighting within in the church and the auxiliaries and what the jobs have been given? Do you think that those could be some of the parts of why you will find mega churches that are not out in the community as they should be? I mean, they want to bring members in, but do they want to do the work in the community? Do you think it has to do with how things are set up by who is given what job?
Yeah, that can be a part of it. That can be some part to it. And definitely, like I shared about last week, definitely one thing that's done at the church that I attend, they have a community development corporation in which they definitely do things for the community as far as entrepreneurial training, first time home buying, definitely different things they do. And definitely as far as where your money is going, we have like an annual business meeting every year in February, you know, where, I mean, to the bottom, to the letter, it's explained where your money is going, to this, to that, to this, whatever have you. But definitely just reiterate again to really have everybody play their part, because too much people can just sit on their butt too much and talk about, well, this ain't being done, but what can you do? See, God is showing you that problem for a reason. If he's showing it to you, guess what? It's for you to handle.
Right.
And make some kind of contribution to whatever problems you see in the church it's not being handled.
But then when you see the things that are not being handled in the church, and those things are then brought to the attention of those who are supposed to be officers of the church, and those officers in the church are not addressing those issues, then you've got this stalemate of what has to be done. There's a stall. And then all that does is continue to not only hurt the church, it hurts the church members, but it also hurts the community in which that church stands. Am I right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, you're very right.
So who is
I mean, that can be an issue.
Yeah, right. But then the thing is that when you bring these things to the forefront, and you bring these things, say, to the pastor who is supposed to be the leader of this church, he is supposed to be the shepherd of this flock, and he's not addressing these issues, whether they're things that are going on in the church, or whether there are things that are going on or not going on in the community. If those things are not being handled by the shepherd who is supposed to lead the flock, then how do you get the things done in the community? How do you actually envelop something to have someone go out and outreach as it should be done?
And that's a good question, because one of the problems you have with a lot of these churches now, the pastor doesn't even stay in the community. Okay, the pastor lives outside the community. He doesn't live in the community that he serves, especially in my area where you got a lot of small country churches. Naturally the pastor lives somewhere else, but even with some of these mega churches within inside the city limits, the pastors don't live in the community, so they don't know how to connect to the community,
Right.
because they have fine houses out in the suburbs. Okay,
But they commit. Wait a minute. But the thing is that whether they live in the community or not, if you have a way of connecting with your members, these members of the church who are coming there for you to deliver the word, if you have a connection with these people, how is it that you don't know how to go out and connect with the community of which your church sits?
Well, that's a part of your community then.
Yeah, it's money. It's a salary. It's a job. It's your Sunday morning job. Now, all pastors aren't like that, but you got a lot of these guys, it's just a job. It's a Sunday morning job. They go in and do what they got to do, and they go home.
And it's not a job. It's supposed to be a calling.
Well, to some were called and some came, okay? Everybody wasn't called. Yep. Some just came.
There you go.
They see it as a job, okay? I'm gonna put it out there. We as black folks are gullible, okay? All right. We can fall for the okie doke in a minute. Okay. Now, if you're a good public speaker and you know how to write and develop a story, you can give a good sermon, you can be a good preacher, okay?
So I'm gonna ask,
you don't have that conviction of knowing you don't have to have that conviction that the Lord sent you to do the task. You just go and do it as a job.
So I'm going to ask Jacqueline this question, and it's brought up by Shonda Seeley. That's my sister. Shonda and I used to be in business together in the entertainment industry. So thanks, Shonda, for listening in and watching in. I love you, girl. So let me ask you this question, Jacqueline, before I let you go. Can you tell a pastor who is in it for the money?
You can tell. Yeah. You can tell what some of them, some people, it's like what Reggie said. Some people called themselves and it didn't have nothing to do with God. They called their own selves. I'm sorry, you do have those pastors that they're in it for themselves. And in that case, that's somebody who shouldn't be no pastor.
So you then eventually vote to get him out. The board then gets him out.
And sometimes it doesn't even happen.
See, that's okay. So that's my issue. That's my issue, because how is it that if you've got a board of directors? I think, and this is the way I have been brought up in the church, is that there's always going to be a board of directors of your church. Okay, am I correct?
The deacons, yes.
Okay, so you've got your deacon board, your board of directors. These people are then not controlling, but they're overseeing what is supposed to be good for the church. Am I right?
One would assume, yes.
So if that is the case, and and the parishioners know, the people who are members of this church know that this pastor is in it for the money and he's not there to deliver the word of God, then why is it so hard to get him out when you've got a board?
Because he might be doing all the right things, or she might be doing all the right things, okay?
And the board might be in on it.
A lot of people don't have discernment. You got to have a mind of discernment to discern what you're being taught, okay? You can see through some people, and some people you can't. I can, okay?
I can too.
I don't fall for the okie doke, but you got people out there. If this person is delivering a great sermon every Sunday, his wife's sitting there looking good, and the kids well behaved, and he's doing all the right things until he gets caught at the strip bar. Ain't nobody gonna say that.
But you know what, Tony, but here's the difference though. You get some people like Jacqueline, yourself, and Reggie, who are true believers, who are feeling it, who are there for the right reasons, who are listening to the sermon for the right reasons. And one would like to believe that you or we would be able to discern the difference between somebody who's genuinely given a sermon and somebody who's going through the motions. But then you have other people who go to church just to say they did it, not because they are completely committed to it, not because they are genuinely good Christians, but so they can check off that Sunday bucket list of chores that I did it and there's my absolution. I've put in my chore for the day, and they can go back and do it. So they're not looking for that. They're not necessarily looking for a genuine sermon. It's just a chore, a task.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, because I mean, people are at different walk levels in their walk.
Mm-hmm.
And see, like the scenario that you presented about, like they're supposed to have a board of directors. Well, them board of directors, they just yes people. If the pastor just got a bunch of yes people around him, where he can't do no wrong.
See, that's where I have my problem.
I mean, that's not every case, though. That's not every case.
No, it's not every case. It's not every case. But I know this.
It happens.
But it happens. You're right. You're right. Jacqueline, thank you so much for being a part of this. You know I love you, girl.
Thank you.
I'm hoping that I'm coming down to California in June again.
Okay.
So I'm hoping I'll be able to see you then. And I will let you know, because I'll be there on the 1st. It'll be June 1st.
Okay. And thank you so much for having me on. Thank you.
I love
Thanks
you, girl.
for joining us, Jackie.
Love you all too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, sweetheart.
Now,
all right. So
I can't pronounce Miss Whalen's first name, but and she said, and that's why I would rather follow the word of God at home with my Bible. You have a lot of people now that are going in that direction, okay? They have given up on the church because of the actions of the church, okay? And that's very sad that that people have just given up on the church, and that they feel more comfortable at home on any given day with reading God's word and feeling comfortable with themselves, that they have their spirituality, that they have their faith, that they're doing the walk probably even better than people that go into the church on Sunday, because the Bible tells you that you should assemble with people from time to time. Okay, don't tell you got to go to church every week, but it says it's good to assemble with those like-minded people. But a lot of younger people, and I can say that because I'm 61, a lot of younger people are getting turned on.
He's 65.
61, that's right. I can go to the movies on the cheap now, okay? But but the thing is, a lot of younger people are getting turned off by how the churches are being operated, and it's hard to get these young people to come back into the church once they leave, because they see a church where the pastor might drive a large
Cadillac, Ferrari, whatever.
Well, Cadillac ain't nothing no more, okay? You know, anybody.
It's still
Benzes and Bentleys.
It's the Benz and the Ferraris and the Bentleys now. Okay?
Yeah, and the Teslas and
Your garbage collector can get a Cadillac now, okay? So that it's the step up now for pastors now is a Bentley, okay? That's the car.
Yeah.
So when you see that happening, and you see the house that they live in, but your rent is due, or you're behind your electric bill because of the winter months, and they're going to turn your electric bill off now that it's warm, and you go to the church and the church is not willing to help you, that turns you off. You have some churches, and I've seen it happen, I've heard it happen, that the pastor won't allow a person to have a funeral there unless they charge them for using the church. Why are you going to charge somebody to have a funeral? The church is not yours. That's supposed to be a representative of God's building, okay?
Exactly.
You gonna charge somebody to have a funeral there? Come on now.
It's a lot. Look, I grew up in the church. I understand how the church is run.
I never understood that, paying for funerals.
I don't have to be part of the young folks that are turned off. Okay, I'm one of the old folks that have like you say, discernment. I have a way of seeing things. If I'm going into a church and I am putting my money in this church and I don't see a doorknob change and all I see is you showboating coming in there with your Italian suits and your leather Italian shoes and you're pushing a Bentley and you talking about give, I've been in a church sometimes where they have even locked the doors to get up enough money, and they keep saying, give more, give more, give more, and you can't leave. See, I got a problem with that.
Watch me leave. Watch me leave. You know,
I
it's
got a
like
problem with that.
it's like paying into an insurance company and never being able to use the insurance. You know, they're putting all this money into something and they're getting no dividends back.
And I say that, and I give you that little bit of piece of story because that was the day that I walked out of there. And when I walked to the door, one of the ushers said, "No, you can't leave because we're taking up a third offering."
So
that was the day I cussed in the church. Okay, and I told her, I said, "Bitch, you better get the fuck out of my way. You can't tell me how much I'm gonna give." And when a pastor says give till it hurts, nigga, you excuse me.
Wow.
I'm sorry. All I can say is you better step aside from the door. That's all I gotta say. Because I'm not gonna have nobody tell me when I can't go or leave, and tell me you're gonna take up a third and fourth offering and I'm gonna till it hurts. No, I'm gonna hurt you.
Next thing you know, they'll be giving you some Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, look, Lance has joined us again for this week, and this is what he said. I'm gonna comment on it. What if the pastor has a business and had money before he became a pastor? A lot of these guys, and one person that they have really keyed in on to try to make look bad, try to embarrass, has been T.D. Jakes, okay, down at Potter's house in Dallas. All of his money comes from his business interests, okay? Exactly. He's built his homes, bought his big cars off of his businesses. He doesn't even take a salary from the Potter's house, okay? Right. Because he has money. And a lot of pastors, a lot of guys going into the ministry do have their own jobs. They make good money in their jobs. And when you look at it from the standpoint, you can't tell them how to spend that money and what to buy if they want to buy the finer things in life, okay? They probably still have a heart for the people, okay? You know, so there's two sides of the highway, two different sides of the highway you got to be on, you know. Me personally, you know, I've gone out for, speaking engagements and I haven't taken any money because I have a job, okay? Right. I mean, I'm comfortable, you know, so a lot of times they give me a love offer, I'll take it and tell them put in the scholarship fund, okay? Because I'm able to sustain myself, okay? That's good. Right, right. You know, don't have to take it, you know. But, you know, you have some guys, again, we go back, some guys are in it for the money, okay? Yeah. I mean, it's sad, but it's true, okay? It's sad, but it's true, you know. Like I said, I could be rich if I wanted to, but just being crooked, being a crooked pastor, okay? Yeah. Yeah. But if there's a heaven or hell, I'm trying to get to heaven. I don't want to do nothing to mess up. Okay? Look, I'm not perfect. Okay, I'm not perfect. I got my battles to fight too, but I want to have a little edge when I get there. Try to get into it.
Well, we weren't made to be perfect. You know, that's part of the spiritual journey.
So I'm gonna read this verse that Kathleen Kumar put up. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm gonna take it down because I'm hiding Sharon, but I'm going to read this.
No, you're not hiding her. You hiding on him.
I'll take the next month off.
But you're not hiding her. You can see her on the phone, okay?
So Kathleen Kumar, how you doing, sweetheart? She says, the cheerful giver. And this comes from 2 Corinthians 9, 6 through 7. She says, the cheerful giver. The point is this, however, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. So I'm thinking that maybe Kathleen put that up because Jacqueline, like she said, I was being held hostage in that church. I was being held under compulsion. Mm-hmm. So that means that there was some discernment. I discerned that it was compulsion. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but you have to be you have to be willing to do it from your heart because you know that it's what you can give.
Yeah. And the Bible tells us that we should give 10% of our earnings, okay?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, and this is what I subscribe to. A lot of people aren't able to give 10%, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And when I have conversations with people around giving, I tell them, if your electric bill is due on Monday morning,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have that 10%, don't get your electric turned off because you're trying to get that 10%. Okay?
That part.
God understands
Amen.
the situation, okay? He also gives you common sense, okay? Use your common sense, okay? Don't get your electric turned off and call the electric company and say, well, I gave my 10% to the church yesterday. And they're going to tell you some, look, we understand you gave your 10%, but we turn your electric off today, okay?
Exactly.
So you got to use common sense in giving, okay? Sometimes you're able to do it, sometimes you're not, okay? I'll be honest, there have been times in my life, if I was going through a transition between jobs or didn't have a job, I gave what I could give.
Exactly.
Because I knew my bills had to get paid, okay? And
Yep.
a lot of people get caught up because so many, like you said, the church you were at, a lot of churches, the pastor pushes giving so hard. Like you said, they lock the doors and lock the windows and turn off the lights and chain you to the seat until you give everything you got. And if you don't get no money out of you, they start putting your watches and jewelry in the and people feel like they're compelled to do that. Okay, no, you shouldn't do that. Use your common sense and your giving. If you don't have it, you just don't have it.
You don't have it.
Doors of the church are gonna close down that particular day because you don't have it to give.
But see, and that's the part where I was saying in some of these mega churches, in the larger churches, you will find that collection plate or that summon to, give and keep giving. And we're not leaving here until, brother so-and-so writes a check for $1,000 or so I know she's got $1,000 in her to give because she loves the Lord. It don't.
But yeah, I have a question for you though. So in Catholic churches or other, I guess, denominations, I guess, they have bishops and people of higher levels that you can go to if you have an issue with your church, with your deacon or with your pastor. With these mega churches, who do they have to?
I'm not really sure, but I know that for like Church of God in Christ, there is a commission for Church of God in Christ. And that's what I've always been taught. For, I think it's the Baptist Christian Conference and Baptist Conference.
The Baptist churches, they're independent, okay? They have associations.
I thought that some of them ran under a conference.
They have like the National Baptist Convention. You have the Progressive Baptist.
Right.
So those are just membership organizations. Okay. Yeah. If the local church has a problem, they generally try to work it out among themselves among the local churches. They might ask for advice from another pastor. I know there were some churches in my community that had problems, and because my pastor, he's very senior. He's in his 80s now. The younger pastors felt and the churches felt compelled to come to him for advice on how to handle certain situations and stuff.
Well, the reason why I was asking though is because if these folks are taking advantage, if these folks are locking people up in churches until they tithe every last nickel in their pocket, is there no one over them to say, hey, wait a minute, now you're straying from the path. This isn't the way it's supposed to be done. Or are they egging them on like it's a franchise? Yeah, that's how you do it. Milk them for all they're worth. Like,
look, even in your non-denominational churches and some of your independent churches, you should always have a covering. And when I say you have a covering, you should have an older pastor, a more experienced pastor that you answer to. Okay, someone that guides you and leads you through your journey. Okay, someone you can go talk to. Now, if you know that pastor has a spiritual advisor or a father figure in the ministry that he's a part of, that they have a close relationship, you can go to that person and say, look, your boy down there, locking people in the church trying to get money. I think you need to talk to him, So you have those kind of relationships too, okay? But you know, the AME Church has a governing board, like she said. Church of God in Christ has a governing board. You know, some churches do, but the Baptist Church, you know, you're on your own. You know, it's no governing board for you. You know.
Yeah. So you know what? I just saw someone that is watching in tonight, and I grew up with Miss Paulette Barber and the Barber family. She's a minister.
Uh-oh.
So, Minister Barber, if I could get you on camera, we're going to be going off air very soon. But if you have an opportunity right now to go to the link that I just posted, I would love to have you on. Or you can call me at area code 702-245-5488, and I would love to have you on. Not just to, you know, pick your brain in these last couple of minutes. I want to say hi too. All right, so give me a call, 702-245-5488, or load that link that I put there in the chat area. I'd love to see you on camera. You know, but I like these conversations. I do, because it opens up a whole level of transparency. It opens up a level of realness, you know, because where we think that we're the only ones that are, you know, having these thoughts about, say, religion or churches, there's so many other people that are having those same thoughts. And church is not a bad thing. I'm not saying church is a bad thing. I'm just saying that it has to be carefully run so that it helps everyone. It's supposed to be there for everyone, but it's not. You know, you've got people in the community who are afraid to go to some churches because of either they're, you know, not able to afford to dress correctly. You know, whatever happened to come as you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever happened to being able to come to a church if you're suffering from drug addiction, alcoholism, if you're a victim of domestic violence and you need a safe place. Whatever happened to that with the church? You don't find that. So that's why I think it's important that we have these kind of conversations. And I'm glad, Reggie, that you guys had stepped away from your political box.
Well, you know, you still, to a certain extent, you know, you need to talk about politics, but you know, politics is getting kind of boring right now because it's the same old crap every day.
I like politics.
Yeah,
Well,
I do.
you know,
too.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't talk about the church and its impact on politics these days.
But it's no impact. Okay, if you look at the black church, there's no impact.
Well, no,
No more.
well, maybe not black churches, but the evangelical churches all up Trump's ass.
We got to realize you got the right evangelicals and you got the left evangelicals. When you look at and listen to Reverend Barber, he's part of the left evangelicals. Okay, the liberal side. You got the liberal side, you got the conservative side. Okay, you got the conservative side feeling like Jesus sent him to be who he is. Okay, you know, that been me.
Threw up a little bit in my mouth when you said that.
But I think one of the things is that the conservatives are trying to push this country into the direction to be 100% conservative, and they're willing to write the narrative themselves to push the nation into that point. You know, and you know what's bothering me about politics right now, I think it sucks for everyone, regardless if you're a Democrat or Republican, is a constant name calling. Everybody feels like they're right now. You know, you know, the Democrats are dishing the Republicans are dishing the Democrats. You know, a lot of racism is taking place among politicians now. You know, it's like the country is going haywire. You know, it's like it's blowing up. You know, and people just don't get it. You know, and I think the downfall of this country is going to be the inability for people to come together to make common sense decisions. Okay, on how to operate and run this country. You know, and I think that's going to come back to haunt us for years to come.
You see what you did, Tony?
You know,
you brought politics into it. You see what you did?
But you know what? It's really a sad state of affair that we have to have that piece of conversation of what Reggie had just said. You know, that we have to come to a certain point on how policies are written, or legislation, or just politics in general. I think it's a sad state where we are right now when we have that kind of comment, where we should be worrying about how our government is run. Yeah. We can come back and do a show on that.
Government, churches, schools, hospitals. We have to worry about it all.
But I like what Lance says. He said that each pastor should have someone to answer to. Do you guys agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree too. But then some of them want to be on their own. They don't want to answer to nobody but themselves.
Well, and the voice in their head, they've convinced themselves as God, regardless of whether or not they had a calling or not.
So
we could do another show. Have you been called?
Twitch.
So everybody will call in and say, "Yeah, I was called." Well, how you call? He called me up on here.
Exactly. You got a phone call the other day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, this was a good show. It was a really good show, and I'm glad that you guys decided to come back and do part 2. I really am.
Thanks for having me back.
All right. So you guys ready to wrap it up in here?
Oh, yes.
All right. So as you can see, Mr. Derek was missing tonight, but I know that he was taking care of some business behind the scenes. So we look for him. Stop yawning. You're going to make me yawn.
Sorry. Gotcha.
I know. Why did you do that?
I waited the whole show. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. So we are looking to have Derek come back and join us next week, Tuesday. So you can make sure of catching Real World News TV here on Facebook under Real World News TV every Tuesday night. So the show always starts at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Central, and 8:30 on the East Coast. Make sure that you follow us on Facebook under our website at hottopicstalkradio.com. Also, catch up on past shows by going over to YouTube at under Hot Topics Talk Radio Network. I am just like, so anyway, but tomorrow night, when I say we, me, Yvonne Baker, and Chris Smith are not going to be broadcasting tomorrow night. Got some stuff going on. Everybody does. So we're going to be sitting out tomorrow night. But I do invite you to catch up on those past shows. Like I mentioned, head on over to our website or to YouTube under Hot Topics Talk Radio Network. Any last word from either of you? Stop it. Really, Chira?
Look, I want to, okay, Shara, okay?
I know.
I want to say one thing. I want to mention something that Kathleen said. She said that George Washington warned us in his inaugural address about a two-party system. Instead of bringing us together, we pit us against each other.
Yeah.
And that time has come. What he said over 200 years ago is coming to fruition now.
Yeah.
That this country is being torn apart by politics.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Kathleen is so smart, though. She is. She's smart. I've had an opportunity to meet her. Smart lady. All right. So we are going to get out of here. Come on back next week. Top of the week, it will be Real World News TV, and on Wednesday night, Hot Topics Talk Radio. So we thank you for everything that you guys have done tonight, providing us with great comments and questions. And I thank Ms. Jacqueline for calling in, and Mr. Duran, him calling in, Jacqueline on video, I meant. And we really do thank you for your support. Just make sure you continue to support what we do here at Hot Topics Talk Radio Network. We do this for you. We do this for the people who follow us, who believe in what we're doing, believe in our vision, and that is to reach as many people as we can. We want to be able to syndicate what we do so that this can be seen not just, here in the U.S. or in the 12 countries we're already reaching. We want to do something worldwide, and we can only do that with your support. So make sure that you share the shows with your family and friends every week, and come on here and just have a good time with us and, have a conversation. So I'm going to leave it there, and I am going to get out of here.
Me too. Peace.
Good night. Peace.
Wakanda forever, everyone.
Good night. Yeah.
Real World News TV, you are now clear. Once again, thank you for joining us tonight, everybody. And I'm really, really grateful for your continued support. Let's make this network one of the greatest networks to hit the airwaves. So again, thank you for your support. And I wish you a wonderful rest of your night and a fantastic, fantastic week. Good night.